Welcome to the AME Television Show. I'm your host, Jason Dowd, and we have got a great show in store for you guys this week. I can't believe it's already 2017 just knocking on the door. I don't know where this year has gone. But anyways, we're going to be ending this with a lot of fun, a lot of educational stuff too. I've been doing a lot of research, so it's not going to be just all interviews this show. So sit back, relax, and enjoy it with us. Our first guest is Alaysha Sky. Alaysha Sky is a belly dancer, and she's dancing with swords. She's going to show us how this art has come about. She's going to give us a little insight about what she does, and we're going to have a lot of fun watching her routine afterwards. So let's go to Alaysha Sky, and we'll be right back after this.
Hey everybody, I'm here in Brooksville with Alaysha Sky. She's a dancer, and she dances with swords, which is going to amaze you because she's going to be doing a performance in just a little bit. But we want to get to know her first. And so welcome to the show. How are you doing today?
Oh, thank you. Good.
So tell me a little bit about your dance. How did you choreograph this particular piece that you're going to be playing for us today?
This one was choreographed for a hafla I did over a year ago. It was an Under the Sea, and this was a pirate dance. I had a pirate off the way looking at me, and I was in a pool of water, supposedly, that he was looking at.
Oh, interesting. So what type of style is this dance?
This is a mix between modern, lyrical, and belly dance.
Now give me a little bit of idea of when did you start to dance? When was it something that interested you?
I actually started back in the late 80s in Detroit, and I took a break for a while, but back in 2013, I believe, I was at a festival with a bunch of musicians and bands, and they put fire fans in my hand and put me out in front of the band with the rest of the girls, and it just took off again from there.
So you also dance with fire then, I guess, too.
Yes. Anything dangerous. Fire, swords, snakes.
Now, looking at these swords, these are probably something a little dangerous to be dancing with. How do you make sure you stay safe and control the sword while you're dancing?
It is actually very dangerous. I broke my own rule, and I now have a scar right here. Had to get 10 staples from this beauty. As you see, my roommate has tipped it. I got it in the mail. I was so excited, and I decided to do a move without it being tipped first, and it fell and sliced my leg open. But you can see she did it in silver. She padded it, covered it in silver, so it's a very sharp edge, but won't hurt you now. This one didn't need it. It's very dull.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And they're prop swords, so I truthfully have no idea why they made this so sharp. But, okay. So, yeah, the edge isn't very sharp.
Now, you also dance with a group. Tell us a little bit about the group you dance with.
I'm currently in 2 groups now. One is Midnight Lotus Dance Company. I'm not sure how many members we have now, but we have all different styles, different types of dance. It's Middle Eastern, but we have someone that dances traditional Indian. I dance modern. One of our women dances more like a Latin style. We have an industrial dancer, a male dancer. We just got done doing a show, Night of the Djinn, where we played the djinn, and we all did a couple acts. I was a snake, and I did the swords. There were Isis wings, all kinds of. It was a banquet, beautiful location. The other group is Of the Mirage. It's just a duet of living art, moving statues. That is still forming right now. We're still pulling that together. The other project is For the Love of Art, where we're making a video called Lilith Rising. That should be out October 4th. He's editing and video.
Yes, I am.
I think that's all I got on my plate right now.
Well, now that you mentioned the video, kind of tell us a little bit about what Lilith Rising is. So people out there, if they don't know what it is, will be informed.
Lilith Rising is a music video about Lilith's life, I could say. A local musician wrote a song, and I gathered a bunch of women together, And we all play different aspects. Like we have a snake woman, I play the primal, we have a woman in the lake, we have a fire scene, actually a couple of fire scenes. And it's very artistic, dancing, movement, acting. And we just go through the video of her life. We have a woman in the mirror, we have snakes, fire, everything.
This actually is probably one of the coolest projects I've ever worked on. I mean, it is one of the most artistic things I've ever seen in my life, and I was glad to be a part of it. So I'm really excited for this to be able to drop too. So, well, how can people find out more about your group? Maybe follow some of the dances that you guys are at, or maybe some of the shows that you're going to be at.
Midnight Lotus has a Facebook page, and midnightlotus.com, I believe. Of the Mirage, like I said, is still forming, but we do have a Facebook page. Lilith Rising, you can find straight through my account, Alaysha Sky on Facebook. Dan Rueff, Rueff, is the person that wrote the song, the musician. You can find out anything off of his page. He actually just put the song on iTunes today, I believe. And we will be posting the video on Facebook. And your account.
Yeah, it'll be on my account. All right, guys. Well, we're going to put her to work. She's going to dance for you, and we're going to have a lot of fun. So just sit right back. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back with her dancing.
Sweet dreams are made of this. Who am I to disagree?
Limo Bob builds, sells, and rents the world's finest, longest, and most exotic limousines in the world. We provide every imaginable vehicle from a 4-passenger town car to a 10-passenger Bentley Rolls and a Hummer for $20. We even have a one-of-a-kind 727 jet limo. And we offer a complete consulting package where Limo Bob comes to your location and shares 3 decades of experience in 3 days with you. Call 708-945-LIMO and visit limobob.com.
Alright guys, we are back, and I'm going to be doing a little bit of an educational piece for you right now. This is really cool. I learned a lot of great stuff. Now, have you ever heard the song Winter Wonderland? In there's a line that goes, "It'll marry you like a picture print by Currier and Ives." Now, do you know who Currier and Ives is? You probably don't, but you probably have seen their work somewhere along the way. They're lithographers, and they have made some amazing pieces, and they're famous for a lot of the colonial scenes and Christmas stuff. Now, what's really cool about this is we have an invention that we still use today. Everybody uses it because of Currier and Ives. I'm not going to give away the details, but you're going to go listen to this, you're going to see some of their work, and hopefully get educated along the way. So let's learn about Currier and Ives. We'll be right back after this.
Nathaniel Currier was a tall, introspective man with a melancholy nature. He could captivate people with his piercing stare or charm them with his sparkling blue eyes. Nathaniel was born in Roxbury, Massachusetts on March 27, 1813, the second of 4 children. His parents, Nathaniel and Hannah Currier, were distant cousins who lived a humble yet Spartan life. When Nathaniel was 8 years old, tragedy struck. Nathaniel's father unexpectedly passed away, leaving Nathaniel and his 11-year-old brother Lorenzo to provide for the family. In addition to their mother, Nathaniel and Lorenzo also had to care for their 6-year-old sister Elizabeth and 2-year-old brother Charles. Nathaniel worked a series of odd jobs to support the family, and at 15 he started what would become a lifelong career when he apprenticed in the Boston lithography shop of William and John Pendleton. A Bavarian gentleman invented lithography just about 30 years prior to Nat Currier's apprenticeship. While under the employment of brothers Pendleton, Nat was taught the art of lithography by the family's chief printer, a French national named Dubois, who brought the lithography trade to America. Lithography involves the grinding a piece of limestone flat and smooth, and then drawing a mirror image on the stone with a greased pencil. After the image is completed, the stone is etched with a solution of aqua fortis, leaving the greased areas in slight relief. Water is then used to wet the stone, and greased ink is rolled onto the raised areas. Since grease and water do not mix, the greased ink is repelled by the moisture on the stone and clings to the original greased pencil lines. The stone is then placed and pressed using a printing block to impact the black on white images to the paper. In 1813, now 20 years old and accomplished lithographer, Nat Currier left Boston and moved to Philadelphia to do contract work for M.E.D. Brown, a noted engraver and printer. With the promise of good money, Currier hired on to help Brown prepare lithographic stones on scientific images for the American Journal of Sciences and Art. When Nat completed the contract work in 1834, he traveled to New York City to work once again for his mentor John Pendleton, who is now operating his own shop located at 137 Broadway. Soon after the reunion, Pendleton expressed his interest in returning to Boston and offered to sell his print shop to Currier. Young Nat did not have the financial resources to buy the shop, but being the resourceful type he was, he found another local printer by the name of Stoddart. Together they bought Pendleton's business. The firm Currier and Stoddart specialized in job printing. They produced many different types of printed items, most notably music transcripts for local publishers. By 1835, Stoddart was frustrated that the business was not making enough money, and he ended the partnership, taking his investment with him. With little more than some lithographic stones and a talent for his trade, 22-year-old Nat Currier set up shop in a temporary office at 1 Wall Street in New York City. He named his new enterprise Currier Lithography. Nathaniel continued as a job printer and duplicated everything from music sheets to architectural plans. He experimented with portraits, disaster scenes, and memorial prints, and anything that he could sell to the public from tables in the front of his shop. During 1835, he produced a disaster print called Ruins of the Planters Hotel in New Orleans, which fell at 2 o'clock in the morning on the 15th of May of 1835, burying 50 persons, 40 of whom which escaped with their lives. The public had the thirst for newsworthy events, and newspapers of the day did not include pictures. By producing this print, Nat gave the public a new way to see the news. The print sold reasonably well, an important fact that was not lost on Currier. Nat met and married Eliza Farnsworth in 1840, and he also produced a print that same year. That print sold out very quickly, and Currier was approached by enterprising publications who contracted him to print a single-sheet edition to their paper. The single-page paper is presumed to be the first illustrated newspaper ever published. The success of the Lexington prints launched his career nationally and put him on a position to finally lift the family up. In 1841, Nat and Eliza had their first child, a son that they named Edward West Currier. That same year, Nat hired his 21-year-old brother Charles and taught him the lithography trade. He also hired his artistically inclined brother Lorenzo to travel out west and make sketches of the new frontier as material for future prints. Charles worked for the firm on and off over the years and invented a new type of lithographic crayon, which he patented and named the Crayola. Lorenzo continued selling sketches for Nat for the next few years. In 1843, Nat and Eliza had a daughter, Eliza West Currier, but tragedy struck in early of 1847 when their young daughter died from a prolonged illness. Nat and Eliza were grief-stricken, and Eliza, driven by despair, gave up on life and passed away just about 4 months or so after her daughter's death. The subject of Nat Currier's artwork changed following the death of his wife and daughter, and he produced many memorial prints and sentimental prints during the 1840s. The memorial prints generally depicted grief-stricken families posed by gravestones. The stones were left blank for the purchasers so they could fill the names of their dearly departed. The sentimental prints idealized portraits of women and children titled with the popular Christian names of the day. In 1847, Currier married Laura Ormsby, a friend of the family. Laura was a self-sufficient woman, and she immediately set out to help Nat raise 6-year-old Edward and get their house in order. In 1849, Laura delivered a son, Walter Black Currier, but fate dealt them a blow when young Walter died 1 year later. While Nat and Laura were grieving the loss of their new son, word came from San Francisco that Nat's brother Lorenzo also had passed away from a brief illness. Nat sank deeper into his natural quiet melancholy. Friends stopped by to console the couple, and Laura began to set an extra place at their table for these unexpected guests. She continued the tradition throughout their lives. In 1852, Charles introduced a friend named James Merritt Ives to Nat and suggested he hire him as a bookkeeper. Jim Ives was a native New Yorker born in 1824 and raised on the grounds of Bellevue Hospital, where his father was employed as superintendent. Jim was a self-trained artist and a professional bookkeeper. He was also plump and a jovial man, presenting the exact opposite image of his new boss. Jim Ives met Charles Currier through Caroline Clark, the object of Jim's affection. Caroline's sister Elizabeth was married to Charles, and Caroline was a close friend of the Currier family. Jim eventually proposed marriage to Caroline and solicited an introduction to Nat Currier through Charles in hopes of securing a more stable income and to support his future wife. Ives quickly set out to improve and modernize his new employer's bookkeeping methods. He reorganized the family's sizable inventory and used his artistic skills to streamline the family's production methods. In 1857, Nathaniel had become so dependent on Jim's skills and initiative that he offered him a full partnership in the firm and appointed him general manager. The two men chose the name Currier and Ives for the new partnership and became very close friends. Currier and Ives produced their prints in a building in 33 Spruce Street where they occupied the 3rd, 4th, and 5th floors. The 3rd floor was devoted to the hand-operated printing process that were built by Nat's cousins. The 4th floor found the artists, lithographers, and the stone grinders at work. The 5th floor housed the coloring department and was one of the earliest production lines in the country. The colorists were generally immigrant girls, mostly German, who came to America with some formal artistic training. Each colorist was responsible for adding a single color to a print. As a colorist finished applying their color, the print was passed down the line to the next colorist to add their color. The colorists worked from a master print displayed above their table, which showed where the proper colors were to be placed. At the end of the table was a touch-up artist who checked the prints for quality, touching in areas that may have been missed as it passed down the line. During the Civil War, demand for prints became so great that coloring stencils were developed to speed up production. Although most of Currier and Ives' prints were colored in-house, some were sent out to contract artists. The rate Currier and Ives paid these artists for coloring work was $1 per 100 small folios, a penny a print, and $1 per 1 dozen large folios. Currier and Ives also offered uncolored prints to the dealers, with instructions included on the price list on how to prepare the prints for coloring. In addition, schools could order uncolored prints from the firm's catalog to use for their own painting classes. Nathaniel Currier and James Merritt Ives attracted a wide circle of friends during their years in business. Some of them were more famous acquaintances, included Horace Greeley, Phineas T. Barnum, and the outspoken abolitionist Reverend Harry Ward, and John Greenleaf Whittier. Nat Currier and Jim Ives described the business as publishers of cheap and popular pictures, and produced many categories of prints. These included disaster scenes, sentimental images, sports, humor, hunting scenes, politics, religion, city and rural scenes, trains, ships, firefighters, famous racehorses, historical portraits, and just about any other topic that satisfied the general public's taste. In all, the firm produced in excess of 7,500 different titles, totaling over 1 million prints produced from 1835 to 1907. Nat Currier retired in 1880 and signed over his share of the firm to the son Edward. Nat died 8 years later at his summer home, Lonnie's Gate, in Amesbury, Massachusetts. Jim remained active in the firm until his death in 1895, when his share of the firm passed to his eldest son, Chauncey. In 1902, faced with falling health from the ravage of tuberculosis, Edward Currier sold his share of the firm to Chauncey Ives. In 1907, faced with the competitive pressures and advancements of offset printing and photo engraving, Chauncey closed the venerable lithography business and sold the printing equipment and lithographic stones to his shop foreman Daniel W. Logan. Nathaniel Currier and James Merritt Ives are, along with their families, at the Greenwood Cemetery in Brooklyn, New York.
The AM/FM 24/7 Roku channel broadcasts all of our shows on demand. To ensure reliability, we store and stream our content on the same servers as Netflix and Amazon. Our Roku channel is free to use, and anyone owning one of the more than 10 million Roku devices can watch our channel at no cost whatsoever. If you have a television show or are thinking about producing a show, you can be a part of AM/FM 24/7's Roku channel. Watch our great shows on your Roku device. It's free and more reliable than cable TV.
All right, we're back. I hope you enjoyed that little piece on Currier and Ives. A little bit of educational history that happens to take place in America. So a little bit of Americana history, Christmas time, all meshed into one. Now, before we go anywhere else, I want to invite you guys to our website. It's www.theamemagazine.com. When you go to the AME magazine, it's the AME experience in one place. You got our television show, you have our radio show, and you have our magazine. Lots of great stuff up there to inspire you to become the artist of your dreams or follow in the footsteps of somebody that has made it, because everybody knows the arts are a very tough and cutthroat type of industry. So go check out what they have to do. Let them inspire you and pick up an art form yourself. You never know what you're going to be interested in. So what we're going to be doing right now, guys, we're going to be going to a quick review, and when we got back, we got so much more, so don't go away.
In a world where all opinions matter, one opinion matters more, and that's his. Join Jason Dowd as he reviews movies, books, music, and anything someone wants his opinion on in this edition of Man Reviews Stuff. Now here is Jason Dowd.
All right, guys, I have a DVD I want to review with you today. It's called Woodlawn. Let me get it for you. This is a true life story about a high school that went through a lot of turmoil during the Civil Rights Movement. Now, as you remember, the Civil Rights Movement was from about the 1960s to the 1970s, where the blacks were integrated with the white schools. Now, when they did that, a couple of black players wanted to be on the football team. One was a running back, and he was amazing. Yet, because he took over the spot of another popular white child in that time, it caused a lot of rift. There was fighting. It actually, the entire team was going to be almost destroyed. But through the help of God and a chaplain that came in to try to help them find their rhythm and find their unity and find their strengths in their diversity, using God, they were able to accomplish amazing things. This is absolutely a true inspirational story. I highly recommend it, and if you are against racism as much as I am, this is a very, very powerful story. Go check it out. It's called Woodlawn. All right, guys, we are back. Now, this entire year, well, pretty much since about the middle of 2016, I have been telling you about a music video that I have been working on. Alaysha is a part of it, and it was called Lilith Rising. Now, we finally have it done, and it's going to be debuted on this show right now. So let's go check out the work that we did with Lilith Rising, and we'll be right back after this. Alright guys, we are back and we're going to be closing out the show with an educational piece about the Electoral College. Now, 2016 has been a monumental year, and I don't like to talk politics on this show, I really don't, but I think this is something very important that we all need to learn. Now, what I learned about the Electoral College in school made me very upset back in 2000 when George W. Bush won the election because of the Electoral College not winning the popular vote. And it happened again with Donald Trump. Now, he won by a landslide. But he did not win the popular vote. Hillary Clinton did. So I started to get upset and say, why does this keep happening? Why does this keep happening? How can you win the Electoral College and not win the popular vote? Well, actually, now that I've learned the real meaning of what the Electoral College is, I'm upset that I learned it wrong. And I'm starting to question things that I learned in school a lot. For instance, this is what I learned about the Electoral College when I was in high school. In high school, my teacher said the Electoral College was actually invented by Alexander Hamilton because he believed that the people of this country were too stupid to physically choose the right person for the job. So this allows the government to step in and override that nomination by the public to put in somebody that they truly believe is worthy of the job. So here comes the people, picking Hillary Clinton, and here comes the big bad government that says, guess what? We don't like your choice, so we're going to pick and put in who we believe should be the President of the United States. Again, people are pissed. But you know what? It's not true. The Electoral College was designed as a checks and balances system. See, the problem with it is we have 50 sovereign individual states in this country. We are not defined by just the borders around us, from the Pacific Ocean, the Atlantic Ocean, Mexico, and Canada. We are 50 individual states. We are a federalist nation, and we keep forgetting that. So we tend to forget that we have these borders inside of our country that gives us different things. Each state is represented in this country. Now, when we designed the Constitution, what we decided to do was have the majority of the people in Congress. So the Congress was dictated by how many people are in a certain area. The states got upset with that and said, you know what? Where are we represented in this? They're right. They weren't represented in this. So the people can literally overtake the states that, let's just say, for instance, New York. New York is huge. They got a lot of people. They got a lot of land. What about little Rhode Island? What does Rhode Island get out of this? They're going to have maybe 2 people in Congress, whereas New York will have 15 to 20. So this is why they came up with the Connecticut Compromise, and they created the Senate and the Congress. The Congress is dictated by how many people are in an area, but the Senate always has 2 people per state. The Senate is a little bit more powerful than the Congress is. So it's a checks and balances system. That's exactly what they did with the Electoral College. The Electoral College, the people go ahead and they vote. Now, granted, we are one country, so the votes in California tallied up with the votes in Maine to see who won the popular vote. But the popular vote is not what dictates our president. What dictates our president is the Electoral College, and this is where the checks and balances system is so amazing. If you look at the entire map that Hillary Clinton won, she technically won California, Southern California, and New York. You can win the election by winning Southern California alone, with a little bit of help of New York City. That means there's 2 cities of the entire country that can completely control the election and dictate our president. So what does that leave for the other 48 states? It means absolutely nothing. The problem with it is that their voice is gone because we have a massive amount of people in one area. So when these candidates like Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump, if we didn't have the Electoral College, decided that they're going to run for president, what they're going to do is they're all going to go to California, Southern California. And Southern California has different things that impact them than the rest of the country doesn't. And because they're the voice that are going to send them to Washington, they're not going to care about the other 48 states at all. So your voice, when you hit that vote, means nothing because there's more people in Southern California. And you can't have one area, one tiny little area, dictate the entire United States. Now let's get back to the fact that we're 50 different states. Each state has their own electoral rules, and each state has the ability to have a say. They have to have a say, otherwise we are not a country with individual states. There wouldn't be any need for states. So we live in Florida right here. This is where we broadcast from. So all of our people in this state go and vote in an election. We can't vote in Georgia. We cannot vote in Tennessee. We cannot vote in Texas. We can only vote here in Florida. Those votes are tallied up. The popular vote of Florida gets those specific Electoral College votes. Now, if you look at California, I believe they have 59. 59 Electoral College votes, when you need 270 to win, is roughly 30% of the Electoral College votes, which means they have a bigger say than, say, Rhode Island. But because you have to win a majority of 270 votes, you have to win California, you have to win a bunch of other states in order to get up to that 270 votes, which makes every state in this United States important. Their voice matters. It makes them also important for the other candidates to come in and talk to them. Listen to their needs. Not just go to Southern California or Manhattan and do their campaigning. That's important. That means it gives you the voice, no matter where you live. That's important. That really is more important than just winning the entire Electoral College, the popular vote. And the reason being is, can you imagine, they have so many illegal immigrants that have voted, most of them in Southern California. If you wipe out those illegal votes that are not allowed to be casting votes because they're not a citizen of this country, actually, Donald Trump won the Electoral College and the popular vote. Now, see, we can't go to Mexico and vote because we're not a citizen of them. But we're allowing that to happen here. And that is exactly what the Founding Fathers realized would probably happen. Somebody would come out from other countries, or they'd pump people in from somewhere, they would vote, and they would have the ability to physically influence the election. The Electoral College now is being chastised, and people are wanting to ban it. Now, would they be banning it right now if the Democrats happen to have this happen to them? Probably not. They wouldn't care. But because it's the other way around, that we do have a problem. This is the problem with democracy. They don't understand it. It's not being taught right, and we're being taught wrong in schools. I've gotten to the point with the fake news and everything else that's going on there now to not believe everything I see. And if something seems to be skewed for one direction or the other, left or right, doesn't matter, I double check it. And I do my own research. And when I did my own research, I was educated to the genius that our Founding Fathers had put in place to make sure that everyone has a fair say in this country. Doesn't matter what state you're in. Doesn't matter if you're in Montana, who I think has like one vote, and they have like one person in Congress, despite how big their state is. Those people have the exact same say that people in California do. And if you really want a democracy, and you really want equality, and you really want to have your voice said, we cannot get rid of the Electoral College. So guys, that's all we have for this week. I hope you enjoyed yourself. This is the last show of 2017, so we're going to have a lot more coming out in 2017. I have actually a skunk rescue coming out. That's going to be a lot of fun. We're going to go out there and see how skunks, believe it or not, actually make an amazing pet. I didn't realize it, but we're going to learn all about them. We got so much more coming up. We got more adventures we're going to go on. So check with us back in 2017. Till then, have a happy new year.
Like, OMG, you were on TV and junk.